This episode of Jonjo Lyons Reviews is sponsored by Last Shirt on the Left. To see the fully uncut version of this video, head over to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons.
What's that like to live deliciously? Chaos reigns.
Please don't scream.
Nah, Sid, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
What's going on? My name is Jonjo Lyons, and today I'm here to present to you my review for Hotel Inferno. Written and directed by Giulio De Santi. Giulio? I'm almost certainly saying that name incorrectly, and I apologize. Hotel Inferno stars!
All of these lot.
Assigned the easy task of assassinating a couple in a hotel room, instead, a hardened contract killer finds himself fighting for his life in a maze-like place crammed with demonic henchmen. Can he escape the nightmarish Hotel Inferno? Probably, yeah. Back in 2020, I had the absolute pleasure of seeing a film so insanely violent, so batshit insane that it immediately became one of my favourite films of all time, Adam Chaplin. I also reviewed it, back when I didn't have a beard, or a penis. The production company behind Adam Chaplin are called Necrostorm, and looking at their filmography, they seem to have an affinity for the old ultra-violence, which instantly makes them one of my favourite independent filmmaking teams working today. Of the many splatter films they've made, there's one that stuck out to me due to the fact that it's a POV action horror and also has 2 sequels, with the 4th one currently being crowdfunded, Hotel Inferno. If you end up liking this movie, I'm going to leave a link for their crowdfunding campaign in the description, so go throw them a couple quid. If you've seen Adam Chaplin, then it'll be no surprise to find out the violence in this movie is way overboard, so I have no idea what I'm going to do about the YouTube version. Whatever happens, you need to prepare yourself for what is about to be a journey into a brutal and savage hell. But before we get into all of that, I just want to remind you, you can see this video completely uncut and early at patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons for as little as $2 a month. As you may already know, I earn diddly from YouTube, and the only way I'm able to keep this channel afloat and indeed a roof over my head is with the support of the patrons. I cannot thank them enough for everything they do and the genuine friends I've made, so if you want to be a part of that, head over there now. I clearly need the money. You wouldn't believe the things I had to do recently for money. Or maybe you would. It was only a matter of time. And if you don't have $2 but still like the content, please click subscribe. But anyway, I'm in the mood to watch the most mental Doom cutscene ever, so let's not waste any more time. Get ready to have Necrostorm blow your cook off! This is Hotel Inferno. The movie begins with this fella in a bath being filmed. The cameraman then leans down with a blade and opens his captive up. Off to a very good start. Cut to the opening credits as we watch someone clean a messy room in reverse, the title card, and then to the first person view of our protagonist, Frank, who has a surprisingly hilarious voiceover.
What time is it there?
Soon. Pretty soon.
Ahaha. I'm sorry, honey.
The voice has a certain Tommy Wiseau flavour to it that I really enjoy, plus the mental image of Tommy doing everything that's about to happen is too perfect to give up. He has a chat with his missus where it's made clear he's working away from home, which she isn't entirely pleased about. Frank then cuts the call, whaps on these smart glasses, and gets out when he receives a call from his employer.
The change.
Oh, yeah, thank you, sir.
It's not my money, buddy. Hello.
Mr. Samosa?
Yes, sir.
It's nice to meet you.
Oh, I love a meat samosa, dipped in madras sauce. Totally worth spending the entire next day ***ing lava. Oh, Zimosa. I've never had one of those. The caller is George Mistrandia, president of the Lumen Company, who apologises for not being able to speak directly to Frank sooner. He confirms Frank has entered the hotel without arousing suspicion and that he's wearing the super special high-tech glasses provided.
As I see you are wearing the glasses we provided you, how do they feel?
I just feel cool.
George says Frank mustn't remove the glasses at any time during the mission as he's watching through them and they are recording the footage. George then goes into Frank's origin, first in the army, then after being dishonorably discharged, he was a mercenary and finally a hitman. Which happens so often in movies, I'm starting to think this is a genuine career path for ex-army. George then sends Frank a bunch of pictures, all of which are previous kills of his, and all of which are supremely gruesome. George says he likes Frank's work and can see from the photos he has talent when the hitman asks if the mysterious caller's organization is linked with the government. George denies this, but Frank cites the glasses and their superior technology as proof. The caller says they collect funds as every mission is completed, and they have completed many missions.
From the budget and the money you paid me, it seems you have done business since the Middle Ages.
More or less.
Frank enters his room as George starts to explain the actual mission. He says Frank's objectives, a man and a woman couple, are in the next room and they've killed over 150 people in the last 5 years, but the police and the FBI have been unable to capture them because they didn't know who they were. Yeah mate, you can't catch them if you don't know who they are. What a weird detail to include. George says he wants Frank to kill them and makes him close the curtain so he can show him a video of the couple's last kill. Oh my god, it's Joaquin Phoenix! The person filming makes Joaquin put on this mask, and then we see he was the bath victim from earlier. His head is pulled off as Frank makes some more observations.
This is just weird. I mean, I've seen many f***ed up things in my life, but I don't know.
Finally, George tells the hitman to be silent, kill them one by one, and don't let them talk. Frank is told the mission will start at 2:30 PM as that's when the man will be taking a shower. He's also told he's not allowed to use guns and must instead use the weapons George has provided him. What if he opens the weapons cupboard and inside is a toddler sitting there with a smile who he grabs by the ankles and starts swinging around, knocking motherfuckers out? In fact, no. Wait, that's my pitch for a cartoon. Assassin goes to hell using an indestructible baby as his weapon. The assassin can be voiced by Justin Roiland and the baby can be voiced by one of his girlfriends. Allegedly. Unfortunately, we instead get this picture of what looks like a very homemade knife and mallet. Next, George explains the method of which he wishes the targets to be dispatched. Smashing their skulls in, extracting the brain, then opening their stomach and removing the guts. Is it me, or is Frank's reaction to all of this a tad underplayed?
That's weird again. But you paid me enough not to ask questions or have doubts.
Perfect, Mr. Samosa.
George reminds Frank they can see everything and disconnects the call. Frank then calls his missus, who sounds like a whingy.
I'm done. We can talk now.
Yeah, I know, but I'm busy now.
He tells her he saw something and just wanted to check she's alright, and she wonders what weird thing a software engineer such as himself would see. They say goodbye and Frank looks at his hand when the line goes dead. Everything comes back online as Frank gets up, passes the TV playing Candle Cove, picks up the room key and opens the closet, finding his makeshift weapons inside. Moving on, he heads to the hall, moves past the shower and enters the next room, finding the woman and splitting open her head. He then digs his fingers into the mess, going for the brain when there's an explosion of green goo.
What the f*** is this?
What the f*** indeed? She's not supposed to have literally on the brain. What do you mean isn't that colour? Mum? Mum! Frank shouts at George, asking just what in the actual f*** is going on here and why the targets are wearing the same glasses. He then hears whispering coming from the bathroom and creeps inside, finding this. The man says he knew they'd send someone like Frank sooner or later, but he didn't expect it to happen today as he digs away at the back of his head and vomits blood. Frank demands to know what he's talking about, and the man says they contacted him and his girl 5 years ago and did many jobs for them.
You will become like us if you continue to work for them. They will ask you to do bad things.
Well, the man tells Frank to obey her, that she eats pain and must be fed. Insert mum joke here. But if pain was then your mum would love it because she loves eating. Your mum's a glutton. You've got a glutton mum. You're a glutton mum. The man then turns, showing his up face when Frank breaks the rules, blowing his brains out.
Fuck this! No gun, right?
Frank demands George tell him what's going on, and he says they'll explain later, but right now he needs to remove the brain and his guts. I think he already removed the brain from his skull to the wall. I thought they said they were watching. Frank brings up the fact that the couple were not killers but actually agents for the same agency, but again George f***s him off and tells him to do his job, promising to explain later. Frank threatens to break the glasses and walk, but George says once you start killing for them, you can't turn back.
I can only say you killed 2 of my men that weren't efficient anymore. It was necessary, and you did a good job. You would have replaced them and been part of my staff, that's all.
That's also the application for my prostitute ring I've got going on. You've got to kill one of the girls to take their place. You can choose whoever you want, but I recommend you stay away from LaQuisha. That bitch is f***ing crazy. George tells Frank he's gonna have to trust him, and in time he will consider this position an honor, then tells him to do as he's told when the man in the bath wakes up and gets his face blown off. Frank vomits as George continues to threaten him, saying if he doesn't do as he's told, she will come there as the rite won't be complete. George then tells Frank if he can't get the job done, he'll send in his men. Many psycho killers who fill this hotel. He says they're waiting in their rooms for any word things have gone wrong, and it seems things are about to go pretty wrong. George then tells Frank even if he could survive his men, he'll never get past her.
You will never survive there. And even if you could escape my men, you would never survive her. It will be an inferno.
Okay, loving the movie so far, guys, but can I give you one quick note? If I made this movie, I think I would have waited until that moment before dropping the title card. Like, they're all arguing and Frank's throwing up as the guitars start to rise in the background, and then it gets all Doom Eternal, smashing me in the face with the title card.
You will never survive there. And even if you could escape my men, you would never survive her. It will be an inferno.
I know it's 20 minutes into the movie, but I think that would have been perfect. They do similar things in the Friday the 13th remake and Mandy. In Mandy, it's way longer. You don't even see the title card until the 3rd act. Are there any other movies where the title card doesn't drop until way later in the film? Let me know in the comments. I really want to test this theory. Frank exits the bathroom and has a bit of a lie down before getting back up and seeing the door is now a bit closed. No, mate, that would the soul out of me if I saw that in the flesh. Good lord! Unlike me, Frank has a spine, so opens the door and goes to look in the bathroom when the lights turn off. Oh, okay. We're in Silent Hill now, are we? Good. Perfect, mate. Whatever the that was, peeks his head out, so Frank takes off down the corridor, presumably himself half to death as he does. The halls echo with the creature's screams as Frank barely makes it into this stairwell, then hides in this room. Oh, you what the was he doing down there? The guy starts to call security and Frank makes his way back to the door where Mr. Jumpscare starts a pipe fight. Meaning they fight with metal pipes. Sorry, Dad. Frank eventually breaks this fella's face open, then finishes the job with a couple of stamps to the head. Nice. He then hears voices and hides as a group comes in, speaking a language he doesn't understand. They look around for a bit before spotting Frank, who ducks out, slamming the door behind him, snapping the man's arm in the process. You should never stick your arm through a gap in the door. Haven't you even seen Green Room? Here Frank happens upon a mummy who immediately attacks, giving him the Ethan treatment and stabbing him through the hand. He locks himself in a bathroom and pulls the toilet seat off, which he beats the mummy to death with before also punching him to death. pulls out the knife, patches himself up, picks up the mummy's gun and heads out to the hall as George's voice comes over the speaker. He explains all the plastic everywhere, basically saying he doesn't want real customers knowing what they do in the hotel, but my question is, if you're running a hitman / monster business, do you really need to actually have an up and running hotel operation going on? In response, Frank shoots this mask and hears the moan of whatever nightmare is hiding behind this door, then gets his gun ready and unloads into it. Out steps this Burke, who falls to the floor choking on their own blood as Frank tries to get into this locked door. He then abandons that, heading into this room, ripping out a wire and getting super MacGyver about the whole thing, attaching these pliers and using this contraption to blow this lock. And finally using it to do what we all knew he was going to do the second we saw the wire. I don't know about you, but I'm having a very good time. Frank shuts the door behind him and flicks off this glove that I'm sure he wasn't wearing before, then heads down further into the abyss where he finds this lovely door wearing some flashlights. He looks at the symbols, then pops the door open, stepping into darkness. Inside, he finds a bunch of random shit as George calls him an idiot and says Frank is now in a secret area of the hotel which houses his men.
You just found yourself in one of the secret areas of the hotel. That's where my men live. That's their personal space, hidden from the surface and from people.
My dad's got a secret area where he houses all his men. It's called his arsehole. He gets it. Frank takes a look around the cave with his predator torch when he catches sight of some running by. Undeterred, he cracks on down the tunnel before being attacked and breaking this fella's arm. Which he fixes. Then picks up a chainsaw. Good one, mate.
Did you see that? I bet you were watching me with some hidden camera. I just hope the resolution was high enough to see his brains come out.
I truly adore Frank's voice in this movie, and I won't stop saying it. George laughs, saying this will calm her down for a bit, and Frank gets vexed, demanding to know who this is. Again, George says he wouldn't understand, but if he can survive the next wave of men, he'll explain to Frank his situation. Frank threatens George's life, but he tells the hitman he isn't even in the same country, laughing at his supposed insignificance. Frank continues to rant at George when his captor tells him he will soon be surrounded by his men.
And when I get you, I'll make you pay for every single time you around with me, asshole.
It's just perfect. I'm gonna be genuinely upset if they change it at all in the series going forward. Frank jumps in the elevator, heads upstairs, and is then confronted by the bathroom creature before again taking the off down the hall and breaking into another room. He struggles to close it when the bathroom door starts to open and he dives into the bedroom, finding the place where me and your mum shoot videos. Inside, he finds a couple of bodies on the bed in front of a camera. He then finds a map, but George tells him it won't help as his men know the place inside and out. Frank ignores this, heading through this secret entrance and into the walls. Frank and George continue to be to each other when George asks if his men look normal to Frank, with the hitman still not getting that something might be slightly amiss. Basically, the men feeding her makes them sick and mutated. Metaphor? I keep thinking how funny it's gonna be when it cuts to her finally and we see that it's actually just my wife. That's just a joke. I don't have a wife. I gave up on finding comfort and love in another human being a long time ago. I just want to tell as many jokes as I can before I eventually, you know. Do you understand? Do you understand?
You are a crazy mother, and I don't understand a word that you are saying.
How, Frank? I get it, and I spend most of my time crying covered in my own The rest of the time I'm on the Discord, sometimes at the same time. My keyboard is a mess. Where you see feces, Jonjo sees an opportunity to Frank takes a quick walk, then pops this vent, finding this sexy thing getting dressed. It looks like Casanova is about to discover Frank when a voice at the door distracts him, so he grabs a gun and on out. Frank then comes out of the closet, lucky for some, eh? And finds a grenade as hero music plays. These kids give chase, but Frank is able to grenade them and get away while showing he's still packing. The Mummy 2 attacks but catches an awful effect to the head, and we see Frank setting a trap. More like he's come searching, so Frank opens up this spreader, shoves a stick into my man's head and guts the final one, who doesn't take to death and instead tries to strangle us to death.
Fuck you!
Frank then chains Loverboy up when he forces his body through the chains, decapitating himself. You could have just chilled there, mate. You didn't need to... Never mind. Never mind. Another couple of arseholes come through, so Frank uses his other bomb and deals with them. This guy, who is somehow still alive, steps to Frank but drops his gun and arm, so our boy does the only thing anyone would do in this situation. I just want to let you lot know I've officially arrived. If you haven't yet, there's no rush, but I'm there. I'm seated and I've received. Frank carries on f***ing people up, ditching his shotgun and running into someone I'm pretty sure I've had sex with at some point in my life. He kills her with his trap. Oh no! Sarah! It was Sarah, right? Sarah? Genevieve? Then gets capped, juices himself up with the green goo I don't remember him grabbing, and charges Mr. Shotgun down.
Come on!
Can we start a petition to get Brian Paulin to collaborate with Necrostorm? I need to see that happen. Finally, Frank passes out, then wakes up to find this putting on the mask from the opening. The man picks up the mini TV we saw earlier, and George comes in for another speech. Frank demands to know who George is really, and the voice admits he's a collector.
For generations, my family has collected things from a world that starts where human conscience ceases to exist.
They need to kill people to stop hell from being here, which isn't a bad concept. George explains she is one of the many things that live over there, and his family captured her as they did with many other creatures. To keep her here, they must satiate the others with a double dose of pain and misery. And while all this talk is going on, this fella cuts this throat. Just another victim, I guess. Moving on. Oh, Jesus, maybe not.
Just consider that during the Middle Ages, my family spread the pestilence many times in Europe to satisfy her request of suffering and pain.
Who are you, and what the f*** is going on?
Really a colossal banquet for her, don't you think so? That's why I like to call her Plague Spreader.
Anyway, this does a painting while George explains the filming of the murders are basically mini sacrifices to satiate the demon woman, which Frank isn't a massive fan of. Apparently, these creatures are in George's collection, and to keep them here, he needs to cause pain and record it. George says Frank woke her up by not killing the couple the right way, and now she's hungry. She's been in his family for 1,600 years, and now he plans to torture Frank, causing enough pain to overfeed her so she goes back to sleep. Just as Frank's captor is about to swing, however, he hears a growling scream coming from outside the room. He picks up George and heads outside, leaving Frank to break himself free and call his girlfriend.
You're acting like you're sad, and that is just ridiculous. I bet you're on some beach under the sun while I'm here waiting like an idiot.
Honey, please don't hang up.
Yeah, see you when you get back.
I just wanted to say.
What a... Frank tells the disconnected phone he loves her before heading into the hall, where George pipes up once again about her and about how this is all our fault, or whatever. He then steps out just in time to see this fella get barbecued by her. Ooh, charred but moist on the inside. This can cook. Frank then plays dead when we finally get to see her face as she spits sparks and fire. And before you ask, sure I would. For the story at least. She steps away, so Frank jumps up and pops into this air vent for literally a second before booking it down the hall and into another elevator. The elevator goes all the way down and the doors open with a nice and welcoming ball of flame. Heading out into the hall, Frank finds some toasty boys, one of which is kind enough to lend our hero a gun. He's then approached by the fire-breathing demon who Frank unloads into. Huh. I thought that would be harder. He's then attacked by this fella who knocks him out. Cut to Frank waking back up in the torture room as George taunts him more. The guy in the mask smashes Frank's hand while George makes it clear they have eyes on his girl and his men will be there in about 5 minutes. The man is about to cut Frank's throat when she bursts in and explodes him. Then as she turns to us, Frank remembers a conversation with his girlfriend.
I landed yesterday, but I wasn't able to call.
It's fine, don't worry. The important thing is that you're okay.
Oh, would you look at that? Being nice for the first time the entire movie. Anyway, they tell each other they love each other when Frank looks up and is consumed by her. The end! Well, that was intense. And there's 2 more of these. How much do you think I have in me, Necrostorm, eh? You lunatics? Hotel Inferno is an absolutely insane roller coaster of a movie. It's less of a film to be watched, but more assaulted by as it grabs you by the throat and screams directly into your face, melting away your flesh. Not only are its technical achievements surprisingly successful, but it also serves as a cracking first part to a larger story I can't wait to be dragged kicking and screaming through. The story here is simple enough, with an assassin being sent to kill a couple of targets in a very specific way. When he fails to do this, although I would argue he didn't, a demon is released and the man must fight for his life. This all culminates in Frank seemingly being devoured by the demon, and I've got to say, I'm so happy that this is just the first part in a series of films, because if it was one and done, I would have found it extremely unsatisfying. Luckily, we've got 2 more and a 4th on the way, and I'm so excited to see where they take the story from here. Hopefully that smug George gets his comeuppance. Speaking of George, there's not really much to say about the characters in this one. The guy playing George is surprisingly hateable, and all the cannon fodder henchmen are perfectly fine, but it's our hero Frank who is the star of the show. At first I thought it was a English isn't my first language thing, but it looks like the actor who voices him might be British. I don't know, but that performance is ridiculous and I love it. As if I didn't say that enough during the review. Another ridiculous aspect of Hotel Inferno is the gore. As I've said, extreme gore is a staple of the Necrostorm films, and they do not disappoint here, with demonic henchmen being ripped and torn in many creative ways. The whole film really does feel like the closest you can get to a Fateful Doom movie, and imagining a big budget version of that story using this style makes me rock hard. Whoever owns the rights to Doom, rather than making another house straight to DVD fest, do the right thing. Hand it over to our boys over here. The presentation and the way that they achieved the single take POV nature of the film isn't perfect, but I'm honestly shocked at how well they do. When editing the review, I did see that there are some clear cuts when you go frame by frame, but during the experience, you're too busy wiping the freshly splashed vomit from your t-shirt to notice. Again, I don't know what the future holds for this series, but I expect improving upon something that was already pretty good to begin with is on the blood-soaked horizon. All in all, Hotel Inferno is so much fun. It's action-packed, gory as all hell, and hilarious, albeit not always on purpose. Necrostorm really hit it out of the park with this first entry, and I'm incredibly excited to see what happens next in this hotel of horrors. This is one you want to bang on a big screen with a few mates round, and if you could do me a favour, make sure they don't know a single thing about it. It fills me with such joy to imagine you lot showing this nightmare to normal people. So that was my review of Hotel Inferno. What do you lot think? That movie was so f***ing hardcore, I can't wait to check out the rest of the series. If you want to see me cover parts 2 and 3, let me know in the comments. I just don't know how they're going to be able to continue to up the ante with the violence. To be fair, if the next one is just 90 minutes of the forest scene, I'd be happy. I've never seen someone get shot in the back so hard it exposed their entire spinal cord before, but now I have, and I feel complete. Speaking of which, if you want to see Frank Samosa tear through flesh, muscle and bone completely uncut and early, head over to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons. There you can find the uncut version of this review plus others with more stuff being added all the time. You got the uncut reviews, Patreon exclusive reviews, /comic breakdowns and the Discord. And all that can be yours for as little as $2 a month. You can pledge more, I really appreciate it, but maybe this week go over to their crowdfunding campaign and let's get part 4 completely funded. I really love what Necrostorm are doing. I want to be able to support in any way I can, so please do me a favor, go over there and chuck them a couple of quid. And if you want to get your hands on my sick Cannibal Holocaust t-shirt, head over to last shirt on the left. Last Shirt on the Left are a clothing label specialising in some of the sickest artwork, officially licensed and inspired by some of your favourite horror movies. As well as the t-shirts, they also have pins and prints available, and if you use the promo code Jonjo, you get 10% off your order. Go check out the blood-soaked goodness over at lastshirtonTheLeft.co.uk. That's promo code Jonjo for 10% off at Last Shirt on the Left. So that's it for another week. Like the video, leave a comment and click subscribe if you haven't already. My name's Jonjo Lyons, and for as much as a bitch Frank's missus is, I bet she sucks like a fucking champion. He's just there with the demons like, hey, lads, you should see the demon I've got at home. Real semen demon, that one, if you know what I mean. Anyway, see you later.